People put so much pressure on first dates. But let me tell you a secret. Second dates are where the real story starts. First dates are kind of sometimes like job interviews in disguise. Everyone's on their best behavior, nobody orders anything that drips, and most of the conversation is surface level. Where are you from? What do you do? Please don't be a murderer. It's polite, it's mildly charming, and it's full of cautious optimism wrapped in Spanx and small talk. Guys, don't ask me what Spanx are. I'm not telling. But second dates, that's when the real humans start to show up. Somebody's going to overshare. Somebody's going to make a weird joke. Somebody's going to try to figure out if that first connection was real or just nerves and Pinot Grigio. If you're heading into a second date or wondering why yours never seemed to lead anywhere, today, these are the 7 things nobody tells you, but you'll wish you knew. If that sounds at all interesting or intriguing, I hope you'll stick around because that's what's on the agenda. Here's the twist. The second date is actually where people start paying attention. On a first date, they're just trying to decide if they want to see you again. It's mostly a vibe check. But the second date, that's when they start noticing the details. The way you speak to the server, whether or not you seem genuinely curious about them or just good at head nodding. I see. The tone you use when you talk about your ex, your boss, your sister. It's not about judging you. It's about seeing what it might feel like to be around you longer than one night. They're asking a quieter question now. Can I imagine liking this person over time? And trust me, people are better at picking up subtle energy shifts than you think. Second dates sometimes feel quieter, more settled, and that throws people. They think, well, it doesn't feel as electric as the first one, so maybe the spark's gone. No, that's just your nervous system finally calming down a little. The first date was a cocktail of adrenaline, hope, and mild fear. You were charming and maybe a little performative. It happens, and it probably felt like flying. The second date, that's where the filters drop and you're suddenly a little more present. It's not less exciting, it's just more real. This is when you actually start to notice whether you enjoy them, not just whether they're attracted to you. And if it feels a little slower or more grounded, that's not the spark dying. That's your feet hitting the ground. Second dates sometimes go sideways when you treat them like sequels. You're not there to repeat the first date. You're there to build on it. If you spend the whole evening trying to recreate every moment from the first time, imagining it was a great first date, same place, same jokes, you're chasing something that already served its purpose. What matters now is whether you can deepen that connection, whether you're feeling able to talk a little more freely, whether silence feels natural instead of scary, whether your guard slips just enough for something true to come through. Doesn't have to be magical, it just has to be honest. And again, we're not doing the exact same thing we did on the first date, especially if we're not sure about chemistry. If we're trying to make sure that our chemistry is headed in the right direction, seeing the person do the exact same thing isn't a way to build it. You need to see them maneuver out in the world. How do they handle themselves in different situations? That's what's going to let you know whether chemistry is moving forward in a positive way. You know how when you were little, every holiday you got stuck at the kids' table? Wobbly chair, plastic cups, trying to cut a roll with a butter knife the size of your thumb. And then one day you're finally old enough to sit at the real table. Linen napkins, full-size forks, maybe even a glass with a stem. Becoming a channel member is a little like that. Same great company, just a better seat and a better view. So if you feel like claiming your spot, the join button is right there. I'm saving you a chair. Now we can head back to the episode. I don't care how great your shirt is. If your vibe says, I'm tired and I'm only here because I didn't want to cancel again, it's going to land hard. Second dates aren't about being impressive, but they are about being present. So did you show up remembering something that they told you last time? Did you bring up a detail because you were actually listening and not just nodding politely between sips of something? You don't have to arrive with a bouquet and a slideshow of future plans, but you do want to bring some warmth with you, a little spark of recognition, something that says, I really enjoyed you the first time around and I'm glad we're doing this again. That's what people remember, and that's what makes them want to do it again. I get it. You're excited. You're over the first date jitters, and now you're ready to talk about marriage, kids, real estate, and what you want to name the dog. But slow down, please. Second dates aren't the place to fast forward the whole plot. If the first date is, let's see if we click, then the second date is, let's see if this has legs. It's a curiosity checkpoint, not a commitment ceremony. So let the mystery breathe. Let them surprise you. Stay in discovery mode here and don't make big decisions. The urge to define this too early on often kills what really could have grown on its own if you'd just given it a little space. Stop performing. Most people do have a first date script. Where you're from, what you do, a few fun facts, and a carefully rehearsed story about that one vacation you took to Italy that makes you seem a little bit worldly and laid back. And while I think it's great to have those stories in your phone waiting if you need them, they don't have to be pulled out every time if things are flowing. They're the break glass in case of emergency situation. Things go sideways, it's a little too quiet for too long. You always have something to change the conversation in a different direction. But that doesn't mean that every conversation you have on a first or second date needs to be a repeat of the last. The second date is your invitation to put the script down. Let it get a little messier. Let the conversation veer into something weird and unexpected. Say something that makes you feel a little exposed in a good way. This is your chance to show that you're not just charming, you're real. And people don't fall in love with polished, remember? They fall in love with the little unscripted moments that feel really truthful. Nobody says this out loud, but the second date is when people start deciding what to do with you. Do they want to see you again? Can they see themselves getting curious about you long term? Or did something feel off that they just can't quite name, so they kind of quietly let it drift? It's not personal, but it is decisive, which is why the most powerful thing you can do is show up with your whole unperformed self. Not perfect, not overly charming, just really engaged and present. That's what makes people want to stay. Second dates don't need to be fancy or flawless. They need to be real, and they're not the encore. They're the bridge, the test run of whether you can go from polite conversation to something real without the wheels falling off. And trust me, you don't need a strategy. You just need a little courage to show more of who you actually are. That's what gets you remembered. That's what gets the call back. I hope you found that interesting or helpful. If you did, might want to check out this episode here. Oh, and hey, please, before you go, don't forget to give my little mama the thumbs up here. She said if we don't hit 100 likes, she's going to make me weed her front yard. I have my own front yard. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because second chances don't always come around, but you can catch this one twice a week. I appreciate you being here, and until next time, have a good one.